Hey everybody, welcome back. Once in a while when you're trying to make a trade, maybe a short-term trade, you're going to look at the clock and realize that 3 hours have gone by and you're just frustrated and you can't believe that you've lost so much time. So one thing that I've noticed is that if I had some kind of checklist or system, it might help me make a decision a lot quicker. I kind of just threw together some little checklist for you guys. I'm not an expert on trading, but maybe this could help you out a little bit. This will be something that we could maybe use as a daily routine, as a part of our workflow, if we find ourselves maybe like trading, on shorter time frames like the 4 hour or something. So let's just go ahead and view this whole game that we're playing as a casino puzzle guessing game that has 6 empty slots. And we're just trying to give it our best guess as to what the answer is to each of these empty placeholders. So here's a little Excel spreadsheet I just threw together. All right, so we've got empty slot number 1, and let's go ahead and just figure out what is the monthly activity. For example, what phase of the cycle are we currently in? Let's just go ahead and look at Bitcoin and just zoom out. Phase 1 of the cycle is usually the accumulation zone, right? Phase 2 is when we're in the recovery phase of, the upper support band, and then we break out and then we hit resistance at our previous all-time high. So I would say that we're pretty much at the end of phase 2, right? Phase 3 starts when Bitcoin breaks out from its previous all-time high and just goes parabolic. And phase 4 is essentially the big crash for an entire year. It looks to me like phase 2 is coming to an end and phase 3 is about to start. That's an easy one. I'm just gonna go ahead and say phase 3 about to start. All right, so now let's look at the next slot, and this will cover what's the overall weekly activity. What is the weekly macro? I'm gonna go ahead and switch this to the weekly. So what you guys are gonna see is underneath every single one of these columns, it says trend lines, support and resistance, and indicators. So to get an answer, let's just go ahead and get comfortable with drawing, right? So I'm on the weekly of Bitcoin. I'm just gonna draw some trend lines, okay? So I drew some trend lines on the weekly on some channels. To me, it looks like there's a change of activity here. This thing is pretty much done going sideways. I think that an uptrend is going to start on the weekly. So that's my decision. Uptrend starting. That's what I'm gonna say there. Okay, so what is the daily macro? So I'm gonna go ahead and switch this to the daily, and it looks like the same thing to me on the daily. Bitcoin's starting to form a little bit of an upward channel here. So I've got my upward and downward channel trend lines. Let's go ahead and draw some support and resistance. Looks like we got maybe some support here too. So I personally think that this area of $65,800 is probably gonna hold. I'm just gonna say above 64K looking good. All right, so what's the 4 hour say? So I'm gonna switch to the 4 hour. All right, so we had a little break, the upward channel broke trend. So that means a change of activity. So does that mean it's gonna go down or is it gonna go sideways? What does our little cheat sheet say here? We draw some trend lines, some support and resistance, and turn on some indicators, right? I'm gonna draw some support and resistance real quick. Okay, and then looks like we've got a little bit of support here. So I think that, maybe this thing is going to bounce around in here, and then there could be some excitement at 65,700, right? So let's just say pay attention to 65,700. And let's go ahead and turn on an indicator and see if it can help us out a little bit. So these lines are starting to scrunch together nice and tight. Let's go ahead and look at what the 1 day looks like. All right, so we have a trend in motion here on the 1 day. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. That looks pretty good. So to me as an investor, this looks like a pretty good buying opportunity. Maybe it could make it to 65,000 bucks if you get lucky. It depends on how greedy you want to get, right? Let's go ahead and turn on a stochastic RSI. Let's see what the 1 day looks like. It's pointed to the downside. Okay, what's the 12 hour look like? 12 hours pointed to the downside. What's the 4 hour look like? In the upper right hand corner, it says that in about 4 hours, this thing could possibly turn to the upside. What's the 2 hour doing? The 2 hours overheated. It looks like the 12 hour, in about 12 hours, it's pointed to the upside on the signal line. there's a chance that the red 5 exponential moving average could either cross below the 21 EMA, causing this thing to dip down and bounce off of 65,700, or it could bounce off the yellow line. We see on the 4-hour, it looks like it's about to cross below the 55, which would not be a good sign. To me, I'm just not going to make a decision yet. Maybe I'll just add to this, check the 12-hour in 12 hours. By the way, everything you're watching right now is part of my crypto investor toolkit, and I decided to put the entire thing on YouTube for free because it's exactly what I wish I had when I first started in this space. Now, if you want to go deeper, I've also built the advanced modules. That includes my full altcoin list where I break down every category of the hottest layer ones, decentralized finance, the AI coins, the memes, and all of that. Plus, I provide 100 target levels for all of those things using Fibonacci levels, adoption curves, ChatGPT backtesting, and much more. Plus, we've also created some amazing Bitcoin price prediction modules that you guys are going to be able to reuse every single cycle, even though Bitcoin's going to constantly be evolving every 4 years. Now, you guys have seen other people's Bitcoin price predictions before, but the one that we have is so meticulous in advance, and we've used so many different methods for calculating it. I think you guys are going to be blown away when you see that there's nothing else like this on YouTube. There's nothing else like this on Twitter. It's kind of curated information over years of work, and it's something that we're really proud of. And I think once you guys see it, you're going to see how much it stands out compared to other Bitcoin price prediction methods. Links below if you want in. Now let's get back to the video. Let's say I'm a little bit stuck right now. This is a perfect time to look at slot number 5, and let's look at our market updates and get a second opinion from a professional. So when we check our market updates, we would check Jason Pizzino to get an idea of the long-term picture, like a wider view of the macro. However, the problem is that some of his videos can be 25 minutes, and what if we don't have 25 minutes? So I think a good balance is to use a little bit of Eric Crown and a little bit of Michael Pizzino. Now, Eric Crown will give you an update on support and resistance levels of Bitcoin using his HPDR indicator, and he's also got this really cool advanced stochastic. Plus, he's also got some really powerful volatility indicators. And another good guy to keep an eye on would be Michael Pizzino, who every 2 days gives us kind of an update with his Gann swing analysis. So let's go ahead and take a look at Eric Crown, and I'm here on his YouTube channel right now. And when you hover over the timeline on the bottom, you can see what chapters have been labeled and which ones have the advanced stochastic. Let's go ahead and hover over the HPDR ranges and see what he has to say.
I do want to get into specifically the weekly closure for CME and kind of answer the question of the beginning of this video, which is what if present would indicate that Bitcoin is it's ready. It's ready to not just break above $70,000, but really continue on with this massive breakout that I think a lot of people are waiting for. And that is very obviously and very clearly on the weekly time frame, any closure above the 61.8 level right here, which is officially at 70,600. 70,600. If Bitcoin were to do that today for CME's weekly closure, then yes, I would be looking at this as a confirmed breakout, and you should be expecting an explosive move to open up November or anywhere below this week's low, especially on a daily closing basis, which is about $65,000. $65,000, highly inflated dollars, I should say, price per Bitcoin. Below there, then yeah, I would be looking for Bitcoin to come back down, probably below $60,000. Again, I'm not of the opinion that that is the most likely scenario, but that would be my condition for, that would be my criteria for validating that and invalidating any sort of major upside move from here. Again, I'm more of the opinion that Bitcoin will move to the upside from here. Also, weekly stochastic momentum will remain to the upside for Bitcoin on CME, assuming that today's closure remains above 61,937.
So we can see here that Eric Crown is looking at the CME futures chart on the 1 week. So let's go ahead and pull that up. Let's go ahead and switch to BTC1. This is the big boys, institutions and stuff like that. He said that if Bitcoin closes a candle on the 1 week above $70,600, that he thinks it's time for Bitcoin to start pumping. And remember, when we hover over this thing, it shows you in the top, the high, low, and the closing price. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the standard Bitcoin index chart, and it looks like the 1 week candle closes in about 23 hours. So it doesn't look to me like in 23 hours, Bitcoin is going to close above $70,600. So that's one sign. He said that as long as Bitcoin remains above $61,937, that the 1 week stochastic will continue to the upside. Well, it's currently above $61,937, so that's a good sign on the 1 week. So I'm just gonna take a note of it, right? He said CME weekly above 70,600. And then I'll just type in upward stochastic RSI continues on the weekly if it's above $61,937. All right, so I also said Michael Pizzino. So let's go ahead and look at what he said, and we can hover over these little chapters here. And I want to see what he has to say on Bitcoin on the daily.
So keep a really firm eye on $70,000 and a potential rejection away from there if we get there. Now, if we don't get that rejection, of course, that's signaling much more bullish momentum and strength, with the next pivot point being $72,000, a nice $2,000 gap between high to high. So look out for some more acceleration if we don't see any selling come into the market. On the underside of the market, the main thing that's going to be getting me relatively bearish is seeing some closes and lower highs beneath this yellow dotted line, which of course is right around those last two tops. Seeing something like that happen is a bit of a red flag, and we're likely going to be coming back down to retest that $60,000 range if we see that happen. So keep a very firm eye on that $65,000 to $66,000 level in the event that we do sell off. But of course, I'll come back to this on the channel if and when the time comes. On the 4-hour chart, you can see the bounce up right into our pivot point where selling has come back into the market. But the important thing to note here is we're holding on top of that $67,750, which was a fair amount of resistance on the lower term charts. So provided we can hold above this zone, it's more likely some nice reaccumulation going on, getting ready to break into fresh highs. And the early warning sign is seeing some closes and lower highs beneath that line there, because then we're very likely going to be coming back to retest those lower prices.
Okay, so he said a closure on the 1 day below 67,700. And Bitcoin is currently below 67,700. So that is another sign. That price of 67,700 did not hold. So maybe Bitcoin's going to go down a little bit more. That's helping us decide that we do not want to enter a long position right now. I'm just going to say Michael Pizzino. Major support is 67,700. All right, so I've got some pretty good information. Now, it just comes down to what is my strategy? How much time do I have available? What are my goals? And how diversified am I? Am I longing somewhere? Am I holding a big bag of microcaps somewhere? What do I want to do? My answer is check it out in 12 hours and get ready to enter in 8 days. So I've gone through all 6 of my placeholder slots, and I've finally come to a conclusion. Now, this could save you guys possibly hours of just staring at the charts. Now, one more thing, you guys, is that there's 2 overall things that you can do to avoid wasting a crap load of time. And one of those is avoid trying to enter a long-term hodl position for a long or a short if the macro is pretty much going sideways. If the market's going sideways and you're not mentally prepared to take some profit, you're just gonna get frustrated making a great entry and then watching it go up $2,000 where you could take some profit. It's gonna come back down and back to your entry, and it's just gonna be a waste of your time. Another thing to avoid is if you guys are trying to participate in like shorter time frame trades, like the 4-hour or the daily, for example, don't just get to your computer when you feel like it. Don't get there at 9 a.m. because Wall Street started trading at 6 a.m. So you're gonna end up getting at your computer 3 hours into some move that's been pumping already. And you're gonna be trying to put lipstick on a pig on trying to get a good entry on something that's already started, right? Maybe it's better to get at your computer at 6 a.m. if you wanna do something like that on a shorter time frame. So that little system I made for you guys, I mean, it's better than nothing. If you don't like it, just go to YouTube and just type in the search bar, the best price action trading strategy you will ever use. And it's a video on the Trade Prime YouTube channel. Maybe that'll be a good video for you, okay? Whatever, it's just better than nothing. You gotta have some kind of system in place to save you from wasting a bunch of time. So that is a wrap for this video. I hope that helps you guys out a little bit. I'll see you in the next one.
When I first got into crypto in 2017, it would have been a game changer had somebody provided me a free course like this. But the difference between surviving and actually winning in this market is knowing when to enter and when to exit. That's exactly why I built the Advanced Toolkit, which you can get at cryptoinvestortoolkit.com. Inside, you'll get my full altcoin list broken down by sectors like AI, layer 1s, layer 2s, decentralized finance, and complete with 100 price targets so you know where to take profit. You'll also get the Bitcoin price prediction system. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but once you dive into this system, you're gonna be blown away once you see how much energy we put into it and how many methods we put it through. It's the most meticulous Bitcoin price prediction analysis ever. And as Bitcoin continues to evolve, you'll be able to apply this to every Bitcoin cycle moving forward. This is gonna help people know when Bitcoin is overheated, and it's also gonna let them know when it's oversold. So if you don't wanna be left guessing when to sell, grab the advanced toolkit by clicking the link in the description below. Otherwise, click here to watch the next video.